196.4 inches long, making it about 1 inch longer than the outgoing version, but still again solidly in the E-Class 5 Series Jaguar XF category. The area where we find the most pronounced difference between the CLS and the E-Class is right back here, because we get this roof line that swoops down like you'd find in a coupe, hence the name four-door coupe, although I think that's a little bit silly because we have too many doors in order for this to really be a coupe. We also have doors without sills around the window, and that does seem to be one of those hallmarks that if suddenly you remove the sills but you keep the four doors, all of a sudden we can call it a coupe. Whatever you want to call it, this is more expensive than an E-Class, but you get this sexy side profile. That's what you're paying the extra for. Instead of the restrained styling that we see in the E-Class, we get something that's a little bit more aggressive back here in the CLS. We have red turn signals, although these are full LEDs, and then we have LED backup lights right here in that small section. Mercedes hides the trunk release right there in the Mercedes logo, and from this angle you can probably see the one big change between the CLS in North America and the CLS in Europe, and that is this large plastic insert right there where you would normally have the European wider format license plate. North American bumper regulations are a little bit different than bumper regulations in Europe, and Mercedes seems to be one of the few manufacturers that really tries to still comply with that North American rule, so they've inserted this little add-on right here in order to help achieve that. But I think it actually really detracts from the overall design of the CLS, and I like it much better in Europe. Now fortunately, this does appear to be a separate module, so I suspect you might be able to have the dealer remove this insert and then just put the license plate where they would in Europe. Let me know if you've been able to do that yourself down there in the comment section below. It looks like it's possible, but I haven't been able to get confirmation on that. Under this hood, we find what I think is actually the most interesting new engine from Mercedes in several years. It's an all-new 3-liter inline-6 engine. This is the first inline-6 that Mercedes has made in decades. But the inline-6 design isn't what I find interesting. It's that all versions of the inline-6 will be mated to a mild hybrid system, including the AMG versions. This hybrid system is an all-new design for Mercedes. It combines a 21 horsepower electric motor that's capable of producing 184 pound-feet of torque with their inline-6 engine, and in this vehicle, a 9-speed automatic transmission. This is a mild hybrid system, so the electric motor is not capable of driving the vehicle forward in its own right. The electric motor is simply used for energy regeneration back into the battery, powering the electric systems as the vehicle is moving forward because it functions as an alternator as well. But when needed, the car can use that electric motor to add torque and add horsepower to the overall combined figures of the vehicle. But it won't do it for a long period of time. So if you floor the vehicle, you'll get that burst of torque, burst of horsepower from that electric motor, and then it will actually sort of throttle it back as you accelerate. Other manufacturers have made mild hybrid systems and start-stop systems before, and on the surface of things, this just sounds like a slightly beefier start-stop system. But what's different between this system and what we find in these start-stop systems in BMWs and Audis, etc. out there, is that we have a much larger battery. It's a 1 kilowatt-hour battery, and the electric motor generator unit can generate more power. That allows this CLS to have an electric air conditioning compressor in addition to the electric water pump, electric power steering system, and all those other electric systems. So we don't have any belts on the front of the engine, so we have some reduced maintenance points there. But most importantly, when the engine is stopped and you're at a stoplight and you're in Houston and it's 100 degrees outside, the air conditioning is still cooling the cabin, and that's not what we see in competitive start-stop systems. So in this vehicle, the start-stop system will actually be able to save you fuel in those hotter climates. In addition, because the motor is much more powerful than those other start-stop systems, the engine restarts very, very rapidly, and it's almost unnoticeable. This engine will also stop if you're coasting. So if you're just coasting down the highway and you're in the eco mode, it can actually turn the engine off and then restart it in an instant if you need acceleration again. This engine comes in 2 different power levels. We have the base CLS 450, which is what we're driving right here. That gets you 362 horsepower and 369 pound